welcome to my channel. I'm Amber, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my January TBR. I know I'm a bit late on this. This is like the second week of January, but I really wanted to get this out because I'm going to be starting a deck of cards TBR game for myself each month. I was inspired by Jessie from Bow Ties and Bows. I'll try to remember to put their username down below. They created their own deck like a year or two ago, and I tried to do it last year, but because of the pandemic and where I was mentally and emotionally, there was no way I was going to be able to continue on that year. And then I must have trashed like everything I had surrounding it because I don't remember how I was how I created to work for me at that time. I can't remember. Like, that feels like 2019 to me. Everything that happened before the pandemic and everything around it, like before, around it, whatever. Like, I just feel like everything kind of like, you know, with that. So, it just felt like everything was years ago, and I just can't place my memory to what these were. And I know I had written these things down, but I'm pretty sure I have thrown them away when I went into a cleansing frenzy or whatever. So I don't know anymore. So I kind of like tried to remember as much as I could and then create it on my own for this year as best as possible. So, and also I will be tweaking things for the next month. This is going to look a little bit differently for how I choose my TBR next month. But first, I thought I would share with you like what my deck looks like now, and then talk about what I'll be adding into the deck for the next month, and then how I'm choosing the number of books for the next month also. So this is my deck. I just used a regular deck of cards to do this because there's no way I'm going to be spending all that money to create my own or anything. So, you know, you're going to have to deal with the jankiness of it. But I just like taped them here. So the first one I have is Kindle Unlimited. This one I will most likely be getting rid of once my Kindle Unlimited free trial runs out. I just wanted to try to make sure that I'm utilizing this while I have a chance. Scribd. This one I will definitely be keeping. I love Scribd. It not only helps that I get to read more books just from using this, it helps me when I'm struggling with a book and I can go here and find the audiobook of it or whatever. So want to make sure that I'm utilizing that. Physical TBR, Kindle Library, which I think this is self-explanatory. Wild card just means that it doesn't have to be like a specific theme or prompt or whatever. I can just choose whatever I want from wherever. Then I have these two, draw one, which with this month's TBR I could draw twice, which I did, and then a draw two, which I can only draw once, which I also did. And then the rest are all from like the library. So author of color, LGBTQ plus community rep. I was gonna say rep only. Set in a non-white country, just a country that is not predominantly white, or a country that we tend to always go to when we pick books. I feel like it's more easier to pick books that are in a predominantly white setting, like the UK, Canada, all those. And so the books that are like more diverse and less white are the ones that are not promoted as much, and we definitely don't see as much. So I'm trying to make sure that I am spreading my wings out further, and also to make sure that I'm reading more diversely. Library journal is just any book, obviously, that I want to read that I would be getting from the library. And then a main character that is a person of color. So, yes. Those are what I have so far. Now what I want to add into it. As I showed here, I have a physical TBR one, and I realized it doesn't make sense for me to count rereads as I said TBR, so I'm going to put in a reread option in there, and then I'm going to also be putting in the series that I have that I haven't started, and also the series that I have that are part of my book challenge so that I'm making sure that I'm getting to them. How I will be doing with the series ones that I'm adding is that once I draw a series out, the rest of the series that are in I will be taken out until I finish that series, because I do not want to get overwhelmed with starting multiple series at once. I think that would get too much, and then I would have problems with reading. So I just want to make sure that this is fun and challenging, but not overwhelming and causing me to burn out. So that's how I'll be working that out. And also, I noticed when I was trying to do this month, when I was doing my draws, is that I was getting all libraries because I was putting them back in and then I kept drawing them. And my fear is that if I have all library books in a month, I will end up being solely dependent on the whim of if I'm gonna, like the timing of them getting it to me, if it's on a long time hold or whatever, and I can't find, and especially if I can't find it through like Libby or Cloud Library or whatever. So I decided to take them out as I pick, and of course they will go back in for the next month, obviously. But also, like for some of them, like if they're on hold and I have it available through Scribd, it will still count for the library option, but I will be reading it through Scribd, especially if it's not going to get there in time for me to read it during that month's TBR, So then I will also be adding, I think I said reread already, so I will also be adding like a Goodreads choice prompt, which means I will just go to my feed on Goodreads, just scroll real fast and then stop it randomly, and then whichever book comes up first is the book I will be choosing for my TBR. And this one, there's like an exception, like if it's new release, like this year release, whether it's been out, just gotten out, or going to be out. Obviously, if it's going to be out, there's no way I could get to it. But like if it's like a new release, if it's a 2021 release, I will not be choosing that book because there's just no way that I would be able to get it. I would be pretty surprised if any of the options I have would have it. So I just don't want to put that worry on me with that. So it's just anything that's like 2020-ish and past and earlier. Then I'm going to add in a nonfiction option because I know that I tend to steer away from nonfiction, even though I like nonfiction, and I really want to make sure that I am learning and growing in my education of different topics and such. And I have many books on my own shelf that I need to read that are nonfiction, and I tend to steer away from them because I think it takes more time and a lot more effort to get through them, just because it takes a lot more mind energy, I feel like. So I want to put that in there just to make sure that I am getting to them. Then poetry, which will be another library option, because I don't own any library. No, I don't own any poetry, and I really want to start getting into that area of reading more. I just don't feel like I'm intelligent or smart enough to understand poetry as much as I would like. So, anyways, and then the last one I'm going to be adding is a booktuber choice, which means that I will just go to like a random booktuber that I am subscribed to, find a favorites or recommendation video, and choose a book from that list and read that. Because I got inspired with this one because I've seen a lot of people doing like reading vlogs where they slowly read books from a favorite book video of their favorite booktuber and such like that. And I was like, oh, that looks fun, but I don't think I could do like a whole expansive thing like that. So I thought I would just add something like that to my deck of cards. And then, so how I worked it for this month, it was that I ended up just drawing 5 cards, and if I got to draw 2, obviously I'd draw 1. I would add more cards. So I ended up with 9 books for this month. But what I will be doing differently for picking the number of books is I'm going to be rolling a pair of die, and whatever number I roll, obviously that's how many books I will be reading. And if I roll a double, I will be doubling that amount. So if I rolled 2 4s, I would obviously be reading 16 books that month. If I roll a 6, I would add 3 books, and if I roll a 1, I would be adding 1 book. And from now on, the draw 2 and the draw 1 that I have in the deck will only be drawn once, just to be sure that I'm not overwhelming myself with too many books. And then, hold on, okay. And then if for some reason, somehow, I don't think this is going to happen, but if I roll a number that's lower than 5, I will automatically raise it up to 5, no matter if I rolled a 1 or a 6, or I draw 2 or 1, like it's automatically going to be a 5. Because my hopes for this year, I have a hope of a number of books I want to read, so I'm wanting to make sure that I'm reading more than, I want to read more than 5 books a month, just to make sure that I'm getting to that number. But either way, that is that for what I'm adding and changing for the next month. But the rules, the general rules for it is that if at the end of the month I have any books that I did not finish, they will be added on top of whatever amount of books I end up having to read for my next TBR. So, but it won't be all of them. So like if I didn't finish books that were under 5 books, if I only read like 4 books, those will automatically all will be added on top. But if I read more than 5 books, so if I read 6 books, I will divide that up. And so I will only be adding 3 books, because I'm really worried that if I don't finish all my books that month, I'm going to be adding a lot of books on top, and that would be more than a punishment. That will be impossible, I feel like, especially if I get a high number of books for the next month. So I just want to make sure that I'm balancing all of that out, and I'm not overwhelming myself with punishment, and not making it something that I can't handle. This is supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to be challenging, it's supposed to motivate me to read more, but it's not supposed to be work, So that's how I'll be working that out. There will be an exception to the punishment rule, and that is for library books. If I cannot find a replacement, if I cannot find this book on Scribd, and it's the only way I can borrow it is from the library, and it hasn't come by the end of the month, what will happen is that I will end up counting that as part of my TBR for the next month automatically. So if it doesn't come in the next month, that month, then it will roll over to my TBR for the next month. So if I had to read 10 books, that 10th book will be that library book that I was supposed to have read in that previous month. It won't be added on top of it. And then if it doesn't come in that month, everything will go back to normal. It will just be there. And if it does come in like in the middle of the month after the fact, after like everything had gone back to normal, and wasn't counted or anything, what will happen is that I will replace a book that I was planning to read in that month with that one, and then when I get that prompt again, that one book that I replaced it with comes back, I will automatically go back in, so that I will end up reading it no matter what at some point. I just want to make sure that I am reading the library books that I do want to borrow that are holes, and I want to make sure that the ones that if I end up having to take a prompt out, that I am still reading that book that was from that prompt at some point, depending on when and if that happens. So yeah, the only way that a library book will end up being added as a punishment is if I was able to get it in time to read it, and I'm able to renew it if it needs to be renewed by that point. If it can't be renewed, obviously, it's like a lot of this with the library book stuff is out of my control, so I don't feel like it would be fair to punish myself for something that I can't fully control. So yeah, that is how it will be working for me with my TBR. I'm hoping that next month it will be a little bit more interesting. I am fully on track to finish my reading for this month. I have finished 4 books already. So I only have 5 more books to finish, and I'm definitely going to be finishing this TBR this month. So yeah, and I'm enjoying reading. So let's just talk about what the prompts were that I drew and what I chose for those prompts. So the first draw was a wild card, and I chose Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. This is part of my book challenge, and so since I had already had it out from the library, I just decided to use it, especially since I had a wild card option. And I finished that one this month also. Then I drew a physical TBR. I chose Tagana, which I'm in the middle of reading right now. Then the third draw was a Scribd option, which I chose to listen to Nickel and Dimed, but I will be listening and reading the physical copy, which I will be getting from the library. I feel like, because it's nonfiction, that I kind of need the physical copy to follow along with, especially if I want to take notes, write out quotations and stuff like that, which I feel like I'm going to want to. The next draw was Kindle Unlimited, and I chose The Haunting of Bryn Wilder. The fifth draw was Kindle Library, which I chose The Priory of the Orange Tree, which I have just bought this. And if you are wanting to get a copy of this, it was $1.99 when I bought this off of Kindle. So go ahead and check that out. I'm very much excited to read this one. Then I chose a library option, which for this one it was a general option. And that one I chose the guest list, which I finished already. And then I drew the wild card again. And for this one, I chose the book series that I shall name. Now I'm going to talk about this directly, speaking the name of the book just for this because I want to talk about this. So this is the Order of the Phoenix. This is the Harry Potter books. I do not support this author. I do not support her with my money. I do not support her by following her or showcasing or promoting her in any shape or form through social media. And I always feel uncomfortable when I hear people just saying the name of the book because it instinctively has a promotion feel to it, even if you put a claimer out there saying that you don't support that author. It just feels like you are automatically because you're naming the books. So I don't want to ever talk about this book in direct terms again, and that's why I will be calling it the book series that I shall not name, because I feel like that kind of gives you a clue of what I'm talking about without actually directly promoting it by speaking the name of the book series. So yeah, I don't want to promote this author in any shape or form, and I don't want people to think that I'm supporting this author, but I cannot right now separate myself from these books. These are the books that got me through 2020. I needed to escape a lot of times, and when I was super stressed, anxious, and depressed, these were what helped me get through. And there's just no way right now that I can, I literally am getting sick to my stomach just thinking of the idea of separating myself from these books, which is kind of why I'm trying out the book challenge right now this year, is because I'm hoping to find a book series that can do something similar. I just need a book series that is written in a way where I can just fully escape into it. It's easy, it's, it's exciting, it completely is able to transport me away from this world. I need something like that, and I don't want to offend anybody by talking about these books or think that there's something wrong with me reading these books. But for now, this is where I'm at with this. It's I cannot separate myself from these books. And when I'm thinking about if I'm just reading in the privacy of my room, I already bought these books 10 years ago, so it's not like I am in the moment buying these books and giving her money off of it. I just don't feel like how that is supporting an author. I feel like supporting an author means that you're giving them money and you're giving them attention by talking to them on your channel or your social media, other social medias and stuff like that, which I kind of am doing here now. But I just wanted to talk about this real quickly. So I will not be talking about it in indirect terms at all, and hopefully in vague enough terms so that people won't know what I'm talking about enough, or if they do, it still won't feel like it's a promotion in any shape or form. So the book series I shall not name, and I've already read the book the fifth book for this month. Then the eighth draw was a library pick, which is a main character person of color, which I chose Felix Ever After, and this is another book that I have already finished. And the ninth and last book that I will be reading this month is Kindle Unlimited, The Last Thing She Ever Did. So those are my TBR. Many of them I have already finished, and one I'm in the middle of. So I am doing good. I'm going strong, and I am loving how strong I'm going so far. And I'm hoping that I can continue on in this path. I think a lot of the problem with my reading, not only because of how stressful and depressing 2020 was, is that I was so focused on the news and everything that was happening, and it felt like everything was happening one after the other. It was just one thing after the other, day in and day out, to the point where it was just all I was seeing, all I was hearing, all that I could deal with. And so I need to keep up with the news, obviously, but keep far enough away that I am not letting it impact my life in such a way that I can't even read. I don't want to get back into that state, because I went 3 months where I wasn't reading anything, and that was horrifying and scary to me, because I was like, am I ever going to read again? I was seriously worried that I was never going to read. So but yeah, I am glad that I'm back into full swing of reading, and I'm just gonna have to learn how to balance things out so that I'm keeping up to track but not letting it overtake my whole life. So he has been impeached, people. Hopefully that means we're on the right track to things. And the last thing I will say to anybody who is somehow watching this video and is a Trump supporter or a COVID idiot, you can fuck off and stay the fuck off my page. But to everybody else, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.